In this video, you're going to learn how to tie everything together and make great decisions on the river. Hey guys, how's it going? Gareth James here. Welcome back to MTT Poker School. Now today, we're going to look at the river. So just a quick recap on the hand. Villain in the cutoff opens off around 23 bigs for min raise, folds to us in the big blind. We make the call with King 7 off. Flop comes King 7-2 with a flush draw. We check. Villain bets 2 bigs. We call. The turn is the Ace of Hearts. We check. And Villain bets 4 bigs this time. And we call. If you haven't done so already, I definitely recommend checking out the previous 2 videos. There's one for flop strategy and one for turn strategy. I'll leave a link for those in the description down below and post them up here as well. So in the last video, I asked you to comment down below as to which card you thought was going to be the most challenging to play, maybe even the most challenging to analyze. And the most common response was a 2 and an ace. So drum roll please, what's the river gonna be? It's the Ace of Diamonds. If we go up here then, click on analysis and then run out CV comparison and then click on out of position equity, we get to see what our equity is across all the different river cards. So you can see that a 7 really stands out, a heart stands out, a king stands out as well. So the actual card that we had, Ace of Diamonds, not too bad, you know, pretty range neutral. It's certainly not as bad as, say, a Queen, a Jack, or a 10. So if we go over here and click on Range Explorer and then select None, and then what we're going to do is just select Trips and Better as big hands in this spot. And you can see out of position has 25.3% of their range as big hands. If we click change player, we get to see that in position has 40.8%. So the in position player has a lot more big hands in this spot. Now, given what we know so far, that the equities run pretty close together, but the in position player has more of these big hands, probably going to mean that we do a lot of checking on this card. So if we open the run out CV comparison again and click on strategy, we're going to see that on the whole, it's a lot of checking, right? Apart from on a 7, a heart, and a king. I mean, there is some other leading on other cards, but those are the ones that really stand out here. And that's consistent with what we discovered earlier when we click on equity. It's those cards that give us the most equity. So it makes sense that on cards that give us a lot more equity, we're going to start having a leading range. But on the Ace of Diamonds, it's just going to be pure check, and that's what we did. The SPR is now less than 1, so if Villain is going to bet here, I expect it to be a jam. That's exactly what happens, and now we have a decision. So the cutoff here is supposed to bet 72% of the time. Let's have a quick look at what that looks like in terms of the different hand strengths. So once again, we'll click on Strat, select None. So we expect him to bet quads, we expect him to bet full houses, we expect him to bet flushes, we expect him to bet trips. And then he's actually going ahead and betting some second pairs here. But then when it gets to third pairs and low pairs, it just becomes a check back in this spot. So pretty interesting to see that trips and better are getting bet. I mean, that makes quite a lot of sense. I think the most interesting part of this is that, you know, some second pairs are getting bet in this spot as well. Let's have a look then to see what he is bluffing. So we're going to click on nothing here. And you can see these are the kind of hands that he wants to go ahead and bluff. So some Jack 10s, and then some sort of the weaker parts of this range. You know, this really is the bottom of the range. And you'll often hear this, that we want to bluff with the hands that appear at the bottom of our range. So while we've got this window open, I think it's a good opportunity to look at some of the hands that we do block with our hand. So we're going to block some full houses here. We're going to block ace king, we're going to block kings, we're going to block 7s, we're going to block ace 7, which is pretty cool. And then flushes as well, we're going to block some of these king high flushes. So really important when you're thinking about bluff catching, you know, do you block more of their value hands or more of their bluffs, and really don't want to block their bluffs, right? So when we have king 7 here, I don't think we block any of the bluffs. You know, I don't think he's going to be turning like a 7x hand into a bluff in this spot. So we can just have a quick look. So they're absolutely not. So we're not blocking any of the bluffs. The bluffs are going to come from, let's go down here, from this portion of the range that we saw before. So we don't block any of this when we hold king 7. But as I said, we do block a decent amount of you know, flushes and full houses. Okay, so let's take a look at the hands we're supposed to call with. You can see them on screen now. It's the hands that are green, and then if it's blue, it means that we want to go ahead and fold. Let's look at the Range Explorer. I think it becomes a lot easier to see what we're supposed to do with different parts of our range. So we don't have any quads. You can see there's 0 combos. We are going to have some boats or some full houses here, so we're obviously going to call those. We're going to call all of our flushes. You can see here pretty much 100% of flushes, and we're also going to call 100% of our trips. Then we get to second pair, and I think this is where it gets interesting. So it's classed as second pair here, but we can see it's obviously going to be 2 pair, but the board has a pair on it, so Pio classes this as second pair, so it's going to be like 2 pair aces and kings with whatever kicker. So we have a look here, and you can see that we want to go ahead and call with a king if we have a heart in our hand. So you can see here, if you look in the bottom right hand corner, you can see that king of diamonds, 8 of hearts is a call, whereas king of diamonds, 8 of spades is more of a fold. Now, pretty interesting to see that when you have the king of hearts in your hand, that you are supposed to go ahead and make the fold. If we go down to king 6 though, then all of a sudden the king of hearts is a good card to call with, and then the same with king 5 off, and the same with king 4 off. So it's not immediately obvious why that's happening, but generally we do want to have a heart in our hands to call. We're going to block those flushes, but for some reason king 8 doesn't like it when we have the king of hearts and the 8 of spades. So now if we look at our exact hand, king 7 off, you can see that there's no color in here, and that means that we shouldn't be landing on this river with this particular combo, because we should be raising the flop sometimes, and we're also raising or jamming on the turn. So what happens is there's 0 combos of king 7 off getting to this point. But if we did get to this point, you can see in the bottom right hand corner, it's suggesting that we should be calling pretty much all the time. Right, so if we click on strategy and EV now and just hover over some of these king X hands, you can see that the EV of calling here is actually pretty low. So if you look at, for example, the king of diamonds, 6 of hearts in the bottom right hand corner, you can see that calling here is worth around 51 chips, and the total size of the pot right now is 3,245. So winning 61 chips is pretty small. So I think in this example, when the EV is that low, I think there is an argument for going ahead and folding, especially if you believe that your opponent is not bluffing as much as Pio. So I did make the call, and villain shows a jack 10 of spades for, yeah, a pretty reasonable bluff, I think. Now, having seen his hand, what I want to know from you guys is whether or not you want to see the analysis from his point of view. So we could do the exact same hand, but looking at it from his perspective rather than ours. So if that's something that you want to see, let me know in the comments down below. So that's going to wrap things up for this video. If you liked it, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button. This has been Gareth James for MTT Poker School. Until next time, guys, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.